Hello, I'm a former forensic investigator. Today, I would like to share one of the mysterious stories that I have collected from police officers over the years. Please understand that my story has been slightly embellished and refined. I also want to thank my two grandchildren for helping to create this video. When I was working as a forensic investigator, I encountered various incidents and events. Among the stories from police officers, there were sometimes strange tales that defied scientific explanation. Today's story is one of those. While looking through an old diary, I'll recount the eerie experience of a police officer who fainted during a midnight patrol. This story was told to me by a police officer named John, who experienced a terrifying incident while on patrol. Now, let me tell you the details. John worked as a police officer for over 30 years and experienced numerous incidents and events. The story I'm sharing today happened about 20 years ago, when he was working as a patrol officer in the local division. That night was calm, with no major incidents. John and his partner Mike were patrolling their usual route, from a residential area to the downtown area. Despite the quiet night, they occasionally felt a sense of unease. That night, without any warning, John suddenly lost consciousness. When he came to, he found himself collapsed in the seat of the patrol car, and Mike, sitting next to him, was also unconscious. When John checked the clock, only a few minutes had passed. However, they had no idea why they had fainted. After waking up, John noticed an unusual atmosphere inside the car. Despite the air conditioner being off, there was an abnormal chill in the patrol car. John and Mike exchanged worried glances and decided to step outside the car, feeling increasingly anxious and scared. As they stepped outside, something even stranger occurred. In the quiet of the night, they suddenly heard a faint woman's voice calling out from afar, "Help me!" The voice cut through the silence of the night. John and Mike began to walk in the direction of the voice, but it gradually faded and eventually disappeared. As John and Mike walked toward the source of the voice, they saw a woman standing in the middle of the road. However, she didn't appear to have a solid form, looking more like a hazy figure in the mist. When John tried to approach her, she quietly vanished, as if they were seeing a mirage. Returning to the patrol car, John and Mike discussed what had happened, only to suddenly lose consciousness again. When John came to, he found himself slumped over the steering wheel with Mike, also unconscious in the passenger seat. Both of them were confused and couldn't understand what had happened. John immediately checked the clock, but only a few minutes had passed. Yet, they had no idea what had happened during those few minutes. After waking from his faint, John noticed the unusual chill inside the car. Despite it being a summer night, the patrol car was as cold as winter, and his breath was visible. Trembling with fear and surprise, John called out to Mike, "Mike, are you okay?" Mike, also shivering, responded, "I don't know. What the hell happened?" They decided to step outside the car to better understand the situation. Stepping outside, they encountered another strange phenomenon. In the quiet of the night, they suddenly heard a faint woman's voice calling out, "Help me!" The voice pierced the night silence. John and Mike began walking in the direction of the voice, but it gradually faded away and eventually disappeared. "Someone's asking for help," John said to Mike. "But where is it coming from?" As they walked towards the direction of the voice, they saw a woman standing in the middle of the road. However, she didn't appear to be solid, more like a blurry figure in the mist. John cautiously approached her, but she quietly vanished, as if she had never been there. It felt like they were seeing an illusion, and John and Mike stood there in shock. "What the hell was that?" John said with a trembling voice. Mike too was shaking with confusion and fear. After the woman's phantom disappeared, John and Mike returned to the patrol car. However, the abnormal chill persisted inside the car. and their anxiety grew even more. "What on earth is happening?" John murmured. Just then, they heard strange static noises coming from the radio. Gradually, the noise turned into a clear voice, saying, "Help me." It was the same woman's voice. John and Mike listened to the voice through the radio, feeling even more frightened and uneasy. Determined to find the source of the voice, John and Mike decided to follow it once again. They left the car and started walking, guided by the radio's voice. As they approached the source, the temperature dropped even further, and a thick mist began to form. Eventually, they saw the woman again, sitting under a tree by the roadside. As John cautiously approached, the woman slowly raised her head and looked at them. With trembling hands, John held the radio and called out, "This is the police. Do you need help?" But the woman said nothing, only silently staring at them. In the next moment, she vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. John and Mike stood there, unable to comprehend what had happened, sweating with fear. After the woman disappeared, John and Mike decided to thoroughly investigate the scene. As they examined the area around the tree, they found strange footprints on the ground. These footprints were unusual and didn't seem to belong to a human. They were deeply imprinted into the ground, almost as if they had been burned into it. John looked at the footprints and murmured, "What on earth is this?" They continued to search the area but found no other clues. Returning to the petrol car, John and Mike decided to report the strange cold and footprints. They contacted their superior via radio and explained the situation. The response was clear: leave the area immediately. John followed the order and started the car. But as soon as they began to drive away, the car was enveloped in the same abnormal cold. It felt as if something was trying to hold them back. While driving, John and Mike noticed a strange sound coming from the radio. It wasn't the usual broadcast, but eerie music accompanied by the woman's voice saying, "Help me." John tried to change the radio frequency, but the same voice continued on every channel. It seemed to be following them, never fading away. Unable to withstand the strange conditions inside the car, John pulled over to the side of the road. As they stopped, a sinister shadow appeared on the windshield. The shadow was human-shaped, looking down at them. John and Mike were frozen with fear, unable to move. The shadow stared at them for a while before suddenly disappearing. After the shadow vanished, John noticed a note placed on the dashboard. The note read, "You have seen something you shouldn't have." John looked at the note, feeling an indescribable fear and unease. He showed the note to Mike, and they stood in silence for a while. John and Mike continued to drive, thinking about the mysterious note and strange occurrences. They called for backup via radio and decided to investigate the cause of these phenomena with other police officers. When the other officers arrived at the scene, they too were shocked by the abnormal cold and eerie atmosphere and began a cautious investigation. John and Mike decided to re-examine the footprints under the tree. With the help of other officers, they carefully investigated the area around the footprints. They discovered that the footprints continued, leading to an even more unsettling sight. The footprints, broken and dragged, led deeper into the forest. Following the trail, John and the officers entered the forest. There, they discovered an old, abandoned house. Around the house, there were even more strange footprints, as if something had surrounded the building. John cautiously decided to investigate inside the house, while the other officers kept watch outside. Inside the abandoned house, John made a terrifying discovery. On the wall hung an old photograph, and in the photo was the woman they had seen. Beneath the photo was a note that read, "Thank you for finding me." John realized that the woman had been seeking help and trying to convey something through them. He took the note with him, determined to uncover the truth behind the incident. The strange experience that John and Mike went through became an unforgettable memory for them and the other officers. The photo and note found in the abandoned house made it clear that the woman's spirit was trying to communicate something, although the full truth was never revealed. Despite this, John learned an important lesson from the experience. The lesson from this experience is that there might be phenomena and beings beyond our understanding in this world. While fulfilling his duties as a police officer, John faced events that defied scientific and logical explanation. Yet, he learned the importance of remaining calm and dealing with the situation. Moreover, this experience reminded him of the significance of kindness and compassion. As a human being, whether or not one believes in ghosts, it's essential to listen to those who seek help. Thank you for listening to this story. If you have had any mysterious experiences or thoughts, please share them in the comments. I am also deeply grateful to my 2 grandchildren, who worked hard to create this video. Thanks to them, I can share these valuable stories with all of you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, please leave advice and comments for my middle school grandchild, who created the text for this video and edited it with convenient software. Your support and feedback are greatly appreciated.